The existence of doorways to other dimensions presents some truly mind-bending possibilities. We might just be living in one of the countless universes that make up the vast multiverse. If a truly huge number of universes exist, then there would have to be a wild range of physical laws governing them, leading to planets where absolutely extraordinary phenomena occur. It's fascinating to ponder whether some of the stranger happenings reported by people might actually point to the existence of these other dimensions. Proving that a dimensional portal exists would essentially open up pathways to time travel itself. Delving further into this, a really interesting question pops up. Could the whole UFO phenomenon be linked to these alternative dimensions? If intelligent aliens or beings from other dimensions are actually real, what might they be like? Could we even travel to meet them? Each separate universe would, of course, have its own set of physical laws that would, in turn, determine the forms of intelligent life that could exist there, life that could be radically different from anything we've ever known. All of this ties into the really intriguing idea that these universes are actually simulations, and the dimensional doorways are really just lines of code or glitches connecting them. In this documentary, we're going to tackle these topics with an open mind and a scientific approach, all while diving into questions that are sure to get your brain buzzing. What would actually happen if we managed to crack open a portal to another dimension? What if we suddenly found ourselves in an alternative universe? Let's talk about the multiverse. Picture this, our universe, with every single star, planet, and galaxy it contains, isn't the only one out there. In the immense cosmos, each universe boasts its own unique set of physical laws, its own individual history, and its own distinct version of reality. This captivating idea of the multiverse stems from theories within physics and cosmology, like the theory of cosmic inflation. This theory suggests that in the very first moments after the Big Bang, the universe went through an incredibly rapid expansion. Different areas of space expanded at different speeds, which created these bubble-like pockets of space-time. Each of these bubbles would have then evolved with its own distinct physical laws, thereby creating a seemingly endless collection of parallel universes. These universes would be like individual spheres, all close to each other. Each bubble would be a complete universe with a reality all its own. This concept is both incredibly fascinating and deeply complex, but there are quite a few theoretical signs that seem to support it. In the realm of quantum mechanics, there's a phenomenon called superposition, where a particle can exist in multiple states simultaneously. But when we observe it, the particle chooses just one of those states. One idea suggests that each of these choices actually spawns a parallel universe. According to this way of thinking, every single decision we make, every quantum event that occurs, generates an entirely new universe. Theoretically, dimensional portals would act as doorways leading to these parallel universes. String theory also hints at the existence of multiple dimensions. According to string theory, the most basic particles aren't actually points, but rather incredibly tiny vibrating strings. The different ways these strings vibrate determine the properties of the particles. In order for the math behind string theory to actually work, there need to be more dimensions than just the three spatial dimensions, length, width, and height, and the one-time dimension that we experience. Some versions of the theory propose as many as 11 dimensions. These extra dimensions might be squeezed into such tiny areas that they completely escape our ability to perceive them. However, in certain extreme situations like inside a black hole or at extremely high energies, they might become accessible. Now, imagine that in these extreme circumstances, portals open up that allow us access to these extra dimensions. We wouldn't just be traveling through space. We'd also be exploring entirely new dimensions of the very fabric of the universe itself. These portals could connect different parts of our own universe or even act as passageways to completely different universes within the multiverse. The strange possibilities within the multiverse, if our universe is just one of countless others, then each one could have its own unique set of physical laws and ways of manifesting reality. So, what would these other universes actually be like? Would the same things we know and recognize here, like water, clouds, or even planets, exist there as well? According to string theory, eternal inflation, or the idea of bubble universes, each universe would have different dimensions, different types of particles, and different fundamental forces. This leads to a nearly unimaginable variety of possible realities. In our universe, the laws of physics and the fundamental constants, such as the speed of light, gravity, and electric charge, basically determine everything, from the structure of atoms all the way up to the formation of galaxies. But in other universes within the multiverse, these laws might be drastically different. Imagine an alternative universe that we could call Universum Proximum. In this universe, it's possible that gravity is much weaker and the electrical charges of particles are different from what we're used to. If that were the case, the very structure of matter and energy would be completely incomprehensible to us. Without the attractive force of gravity, stars wouldn't form in the same way. Large amounts of gas would remain scattered as loose particles in space, instead of being compressed by their own gravity to kickstart nuclear fusion. In Universum Proximum, stars would be rare occurrences, forming only in areas where forces like electromagnetism were strong enough to dominate. Planets, as we know them, simply wouldn't exist. The process of planetary formation starts with materials orbiting a central star, which then compact and accumulate thanks to gravitational forces. Without the force of gravity, protoplanetary disks couldn't form, and planets as solid, coherent objects would be impossible. If the properties of hydrogen and oxygen were different in Universum Proximum, then water wouldn't exist either. Similarly, if the atmospheric conditions or the chemical makeup of a planet differed, then clouds might not necessarily form. If the most basic conditions for life, such as liquid water, didn't exist, could some alternative form of life still emerge under different physical rules? This extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional life form might not even be based on carbon or on chemistry as we currently understand it. As we'll see in later sections, the beings in these other universes might be so strange that we might not even recognize them as life. When you think about the existence of thousands of different universes, each with billions of planets, you realize that each planet could showcase a huge variety of phenomena. On a planet with a carbon-rich atmosphere, high pressures and temperatures could encourage the formation of diamond or ruby crystals. These crystals could then fall as rain, covering the planet's surface in glowing stones. On a planet with high concentrations of strong acids, you could find rivers of acid instead of water. These rivers would aggressively erode the landscape, creating spectacular canyons and rock formations. In a world with the right atmospheric and geological conditions, you might find plant-like structures developing, but made of transparent minerals. You could have forests that shine and refract sunlight in dazzling ways. On planets with extremely active magnetic fields and powerful solar winds, auroras could be so bright that they would constantly light up the night sky. If this planet had inhabitants, they would witness a never-ending display of dancing lights. A planet in a binary star system would experience 2 sunrises and 2 sunsets every day. Its skies would dramatically change color as the light from the 2 suns interacted. A planet with extremely high surface temperatures could have seas made of metals like mercury or molten iron. Instead of blue water, like on our planet, you might see metallic reflections and waves of shimmering silver or reddish light from space. On a planet with a dense gas field or a thick atmosphere, its continents might appear as enormous islands floating in the air. Thanks to the dense atmosphere, large land masses would float like ships on an ocean. They would drift freely through the sky, carried by air currents, completely changing the way beings on that planet traveled and lived. Wormholes as interdimensional portals in physics. A wormhole is thought of as a theoretical solution to Einstein's equations of general relativity. In simple terms, it's a shortcut through space-time, made up of 2 openings that are connected by a tunnel. These openings would exist in different regions of the universe or even in other dimensions. Wormholes can be divided into 2 types: intrauniversal and interuniversal. Interuniversal wormholes would connect 2 points within the same universe, allowing for travel over vast cosmic distances in a much shorter amount of time. Interuniversal wormholes, on the other hand, would connect one universe to another, potentially providing a route to entirely different realities. According to current theory, it's mathematically possible for wormholes to connect different dimensions or universes. However, the actual physics of how these connections would be made and maintained is still just speculation. The idea of a naturally forming wormhole implies the existence of cosmic phenomena that we haven't yet observed or fully understood. Theoretically, a wormhole could form in the extremely high energy density of the early universe, just after the Big Bang. But we don't have any direct proof that these conditions have actually resulted in the creation of wormholes. Furthermore, keeping a wormhole open would require something known as exotic matter. This type of matter would have to have extreme negative pressure, which goes against what we observe in most forms of matter in the known universe. Not only have we not found exotic matter, but we also don't have the technology to create or manipulate it. Even if exotic matter existed and we could use it to stabilize a wormhole, we would still face some pretty huge technological challenges. Being able to manipulate gravitational forces on that scale is something that we simply can't do with current technology. Because of these limitations, thinking of wormholes as actual portals for interdimensional or intergalactic travel is still just an assumption. Today, science sees these structures as more of a useful theoretical tool for exploring the possibilities of fundamental physics and the outer limits of general relativity. Could a black hole be a doorway to another dimension? These cosmic entities have often been described as points of no return. A black hole forms when a massive amount of matter collapses under its own gravity. It's compressed to an infinitesimally small point known as a singularity. Surrounding this singularity is an invisible boundary called the event horizon. Any matter or radiation that crosses this boundary is trapped, with no way to escape, due to the intense gravity of the black hole. Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity predicted the existence of these gravitational wells. Its behavior has been studied extensively through equations. Plus, April 10, 2019, became a landmark day in science when the first real image of a black hole was revealed. However, the nature of the singularity and the events that occur within the event horizon remain a mystery. The known laws of physics seem to break down at this point. Since no information can escape the event horizon, what actually happens inside a black hole isn't directly observable, and we can't truly know. This has led physicists to develop all kinds of theories, ranging from the complete destruction of matter to its potential passage into another universe. It's possible that one end of a wormhole might be connected to a black hole, while its other end would open up somewhere else in space-time, appearing as a white hole. But unlike black holes, wormholes haven't actually been observed as astrophysical objects. In short, the idea that a black hole might give rise to a wormhole or a portal to another dimension is purely hypothetical. Is interstellar travel even possible? Putting aside the world of fiction, is it truly possible for us, the inhabitants of Earth, to travel to other stars? We first need to consider the immense distances that separate these celestial bodies. The closest star to our Sun, Proxima Centauri, is approximately 4 light-years away. Even traveling at the speed of light, a trip to Proxima Centauri would take about 4 years. But with our current technology, it would take our spaceships thousands of years to reach it. Given this reality, scientists have proposed several theoretical methods, some still in development, that could one day make interstellar travel a reality. One of the most discussed approaches is the use of antimatter propulsion. When antimatter comes into contact with matter, it produces an explosion of pure energy, which in theory could provide the impulse needed to reach speeds close to the speed of light. Another idea involves solar sails. These gigantic sails, powered by the pressure of light from the sun or powerful lasers from Earth, could accelerate a spacecraft to a fraction of the speed of light. Aside from propulsion, interstellar travel presents some serious practical and human challenges. How do we guarantee the survival of astronauts on a journey that could last decades or even generations? Life aboard a spacecraft on such a long journey would require sustainable life support systems such as those that could produce food or manage water. Furthermore, psychological and social factors, such as the effects of prolonged confinement and isolation, would need to be carefully considered. Another possibility that scientists are exploring is generational travel, where the spacecraft would be designed to accommodate several generations of astronauts. Families of space travelers would be born and die during the journey, with the hope that their descendants would eventually reach the final destination. Time travel. Humanity's fascination with time travel has really been fueled since H.G. Wells wrote The Time Machine. According to Einstein's theory of relativity, time is a dimension that, along with the three spatial dimensions, forms the space-time continuum. The three spatial dimensions, height, width, and depth, were already known, but Einstein introduced the revolutionary idea that time is also a dimension. So, people move through the space-time fabric, not just through space. This theory allows for the theoretical possibility of time travel under certain limited conditions. According to general relativity, a strong gravitational field, like the one around a black hole, alters the passage of time. Time passes more slowly the closer you are to the black hole. The black hole closest to Earth is Gaia BH1. It's about 1,566 light-years away. If a spacecraft traveled from Earth at the speed of light, it would take approximately 1,566 years to arrive. Without getting into complex formulas, the closest the spacecraft could get, without being sucked into the black hole, is about 85 kilometers or 53 miles. If the human spacecraft orbits at this distance for 5 years around the center of the black hole, it would be 5 years for the astronauts inside the spacecraft. However, because of the black hole's intense gravity, time for them would have moved more slowly than it does for us. On Earth, approximately 6 years would have passed. If the ship then returned to Earth, 3,138 years would have passed, adding the 3,132 years of going and returning, and the 6 for being close to Gaia BH1. This means the astronauts would have traveled to the future compared to someone who stayed on Earth during that time. In any case, time travel faces some insurmountable obstacles with our current technology. Reaching speeds close to the speed of light is, as of now, impossible. It would require vast amounts of energy, which would have catastrophic consequences for any physical object, including human beings. On the other hand, there's the idea of traveling to the past. The equations of general relativity allow for the possibility of closed time-like curves, which would theoretically allow travel to the past. However, these curves haven't been observed, nor are they considered feasible with our current technology. Additionally, there's the problem of the grandfather paradox. This is a logical conflict that arises if a person travels to the past and changes something that prevents them from being born. If someone travels to the past and causes the death of their grandfather, a paradox would exist. If the time traveler succeeds, then they wouldn't have been born and, therefore, couldn't have traveled to the past. This creates a paradox, leading to questions about the viability of time travel to the past. One theoretical solution is that by traveling to the past and performing an action that alters historical events, a new timeline or parallel universe would be created. In this new universe, the grandfather dies before having children, but the original universe where the traveler was born continues to exist unchanged. Thus, the paradox is avoided because the traveler doesn't affect their own existence in their original timeline. Another option is Novikov's self-consistency hypothesis, which suggests that any action taken when traveling to the past is already consistent with known history. That is, any attempt to kill the grandfather would fail for some reason, ensuring that the traveler would eventually be born. Other theories suggest that time travel doesn't lead to the past of the traveler's own universe but to an alternative version of the past. Therefore, any modification the traveler makes influences an alternative past, not their own. Time traveler stories over the years. Some very intriguing stories have surfaced about people who supposedly traveled through time. Back in the year 2000, a user who called himself John Titor popped up on several internet forums, claiming to be a time traveler from the year 2036. Titor shared details about his time machine, which he said was built by General Electric in the future. He predicted several future events, including a civil war in the United States and the breakdown of society as we know it. Another really strange case is that of the man who arrived at a Japanese airport in 1954. He insisted that he was from Taured, a country supposedly located between France and Spain, which doesn't actually exist. He was detained by authorities and then mysteriously vanished before any investigation could be made. In a photo from 1941, taken during the reopening ceremony of the South Forks Bridge in Canada, a man wearing glasses and seemingly modern clothing really stands out. Some theorists have speculated that he might be a time traveler, although others suggest that his clothing can be explained by local trends at the time. Another story involves Rudolph Fentz, who supposedly appeared in Times Square in 1950, dressed in 19th century clothing and clearly confused by his modern surroundings. He was reportedly hit by a car, and 19th century artifacts were found in his possession. The story was used as evidence for the dangers and possibilities of time travel, although it was later revealed that it was written in the 1970s. Die Erwartet is a painting by Austrian artist Ferdinand Georg Waldmüller, created back in 1860. It sparked curiosity because it shows a woman who seems to be walking along a path while holding a cell phone. However, experts say that the object is probably a prayer book, which was common in that cultural context. The chronovisor was a hypothetical device invented by Italian priest Pellegrino Ernetti in the 1950s. According to Ernetti, this device allowed events from the past to be seen as if they were happening in real time. Ernetti claimed to have witnessed historical events and figures, such as Christ on the cross. But the existence of the chronovisor was never proven, and critics consider it to be a hoax. Ronald Mallet, a theoretical physicist at the University of Connecticut, has dedicated a large part of his career to studying the possibility of time travel. His interest in this area was sparked by the premature death of his father, which motivated him to find a way to reunite with him. Inspired by the novel The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, Mallet decided to devote himself to the study of physics. Mallet's research focuses on Einstein's theories of relativity, specifically the idea that wormholes might enable time travel. Mallet has suggested that a ring of laser light would theoretically have the ability to twist spacetime within the ring, creating a closed time loop. This would allow information to travel backward in time. However, scientists have pointed out that, while interesting, Mallet's theory would require energies and technologies that simply don't exist. Furthermore, some critics argue that, while the theory might be mathematically valid, its physical feasibility is uncertain. Hyperspace, often popularized in science fiction. Hyperspace refers to an alternative dimension that would allow for faster-than-light travel. According to Einstein's theory of relativity, nothing can exceed the speed of light without violating the laws of physics. Hyperspace would act as a shortcut, a way of distorting space-time in such a way that distant points move closer to each other. Let's imagine a character on a sheet of paper. This two-dimensional character can only move along the surface of the sheet, forward, backward, left, and right. It has no concept of the dimension outside the sheet. If the character could rise up off the sheet and move in the third dimension, it would experience something completely outside its two-dimensional understanding. Likewise, if we could access hyperspace, we would experience completely new aspects of the universe and be able to travel through time. The CERN Large Hadron Collider, could it cause a doorway to another dimension to open? Deep beneath the border between France and Switzerland lies a colossus of science, also known as the LHC. It's a marvel of modern engineering and the largest particle physics laboratory in the world. It was designed to test the predictions of different theories of particle physics. Its function is to collide subatomic particles at high speeds, providing information about the fundamental components of the universe. Among the theories that the LHC seeks to explore is the existence of additional dimensions. According to string theory, it's possible that other dimensions exist, but they would be on microscopic scales, imperceptible without high-energy experiments. As a result of these experiments, the possibility of producing microscopic black holes has been considered. These black holes would be extremely small and very short-lived, evaporating before they could cause any damage through a process known as Hawking radiation. In any case, from a scientific point of view, the safety of the experiments at the LHC has always been the top priority. CERN scientists have conducted numerous safety reviews and studies that have concluded that any exotic phenomena produced would fade away almost instantly. Could the particle accelerator open a door to another dimension? It's an idea that belongs in the realm of science fiction. The energy needed to alter space-time and create something that even resembles a dimensional portal is far greater than what the LHC is capable of generating. According to the theory of general relativity, manipulating space-time in this way would require amounts of energy comparable to that of a black hole or a neutron star. This is something completely beyond the scope of our technology. Despite all the scientific evidence to the contrary, there are people who believe that something reckless was committed in the past. According to these theories, The Large Hadron Collider might have inadvertently caused the destruction of our own universe, moving us into a parallel one. While this certainly gets science fiction writers excited, there's absolutely nothing to support this speculation. The best explanation for the safety of the Large Collider is that its activities are minimal compared to the particle collisions that occur naturally in the atmosphere. String theory and the 11th dimension. This theory presents a cosmos where the fundamental components aren't particles but rather vibrating strings of energy. It arose in an attempt to describe strong nuclear forces but became a candidate for the theory of everything. It proposed a way to unify all the fundamental forces of the universe, including gravity. However, for it to work mathematically, it requires more dimensions than the 4 we experience in our daily lives. In early versions of string theory, physicists discovered that they needed as many as 10 dimensions for the equations to remain consistent. With the development of a refined version called M-theory, the necessary number of dimensions increased to 11. M-theory goes beyond strings by incorporating complex objects such as membranes and other multidimensional entities. The extra dimensions would be compacted or rolled up into extremely small scales, invisible to current instruments. Imagine a very long and thin cable. From a distance, it looks like a line, but as you get closer, you can see its circumference, revealing a hidden second dimension. Similarly, the 11 extra dimensions are thought to exist but are coiled up. Their effects are so minute that they're only really noticeable at the subatomic level. This 11th dimension is what could potentially bridge the gap between Einstein's theory of general relativity and quantum mechanics. Now, Einstein's general relativity, that's the one that explains how gravity works on a grand scale. We're talking planets, stars, entire galaxies, the whole universe, really. In this framework, gravity isn't a force in the traditional sense, but rather a consequence of the curvature of space-time itself. Think of massive objects like the Earth or the Sun. They actually warp the space-time around them, and this warping is what we experience as gravity. On the flip side, you've got quantum mechanics, which deals with the behavior of the tiniest particles imaginable: electrons, protons, photons, you name it. In the quantum realm, things get weird. Particles can exist in multiple states at the same time, a concept known as superposition. They can also be instantly connected across vast distances, a phenomenon called quantum entanglement. And to make things even stranger, a particle's properties aren't even defined until you observe them. That's the uncertainty principle at play. The problem is, when you try to apply general relativity to these incredibly small scales, like inside atoms or in the extreme conditions of a black hole, the equations just don't play nicely together. General relativity paints space-time as a smooth, continuous fabric that bends and curves in response to mass and energy. But quantum mechanics suggests that at the tiniest scales, space-time might not be so smooth after all. It could be grainy and fluctuating, almost like a foam. In quantum mechanics, you can't know certain properties of a particle, like its position and momentum, with perfect accuracy at the same time. But general relativity demands that you measure the curvature of space-time with absolute precision, which clashes directly with this uncertainty. This is where string theory and the 11th dimension come into the picture. They offer a way to potentially unify all the fundamental forces of nature, including gravity, into one single coherent theory. In general relativity, singularities, those points where the equations just break down, like at the center of a black hole, are a real headache. The addition of these extra dimensions allows for a more complete description of space-time, essentially smoothing out those singularities and avoiding the mathematical roadblocks they create. Imagine trying to describe the shape of a crumpled-up piece of paper using only 2 dimensions, length and width. You just can't fully capture all the wrinkles and folds. To do that, you need a 3rd dimension, depth. Similarly, the 11th dimension could be providing that extra depth necessary to reconcile quantum mechanics and gravity. Paranormal phenomena. Could they be doors to other dimensions? Now we're venturing into some pretty speculative territory, a realm of unknowns. But science is all about asking questions and keeping a critical mind, and there are still plenty of phenomena out there that defy easy explanation. Think about places with a history of battles or tragedies, like old castles. People have often reported encounters with figures from another time. Some explain these apparitions as glimpses through temporal portals, brief openings that allow us to see into another time or dimension. Of course, from a psychological and sociological standpoint, you could argue that it's all about a person's predisposition. The atmosphere of the place, combined with their knowledge of historical events, can create experiences that they then interpret as supernatural. Take Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, for example. It was the site of one of the bloodiest battles of the American Civil War back in 1863. Countless visitors have claimed to see figures and hear the sounds of battle, gunshots, screams, even the smell of gunpowder. Some believe these are manifestations of the soldiers who died there, that their presence is so strong it somehow transcends time. Others think that these experiences are echoes of the past, triggered by the emotionally charged atmosphere of the place. Then there's the strange case of the Belmez faces, which has baffled people since 1971. In a small town in Spain, faces started inexplicably appearing on the kitchen floor of the Pereira family's home. These faces would change their expressions and shapes, fading and reappearing with new features. Some researchers have suggested that they're apparitions of souls trapped between dimensions, linked to spiritual energies, or perhaps the remains of an ancient cemetery. But other analyses point to a more mundane explanation, that the faces were created artificially using chemicals like silver nitrate or pigments. And what about poltergeists? These unexplained events, like objects moving on their own, strange noises, and other physical disturbances, have been scaring people for centuries. Often, these events seem to center around one particular individual, usually a young person. In some cases, poltergeists can even modify the physical environment, seemingly altering the perceptions of time and space for those present. This has led some to wonder if they might be more than just unexplained bursts of energy, that maybe they're actually gateways to other dimensions. The idea is that these phenomena often violate the laws of physics, with objects moving or levitating without any visible cause, suggesting the presence of unseen forces or energy fields. These anomalies raise the possibility of gaps in space-time that, under certain circumstances, could allow access to other realities. Some accounts even describe moments where the laws of time and space seem to warp during poltergeist activity. People have reported losing track of time, experiencing spatial distortions in their homes, and, in extreme cases, even seeing visions of other worlds. Temporal displacements, also known as lost time or gain time, are another one of these strange paranormal phenomena. People feel like they've lost hours in an instant, or that brief moments have stretched out for an eternity. A well-known example of this is the Highway 5 incident in California. Multiple witnesses have reported experiencing time jumps while driving along a specific stretch of this highway. What seemed like only minutes on the road turned out to be several hours, and they arrived at their destinations much earlier than expected. Another example comes from Area 51 in Nevada, a place notorious for its association with UFO theories. There have been numerous accounts from employees and visitors who claim to have experienced temporal anomalies there. Some interpret these anomalies as interactions with advanced technologies that can alter our perception of time. Then there's the Mandela effect, a situation where a large group of people remember an event differently than how it actually occurred, according to historical records. The name comes from the fact that many people vividly recalled news reports of Nelson Mandela's death in prison during the 1980s. In reality, Mandela passed away in 2013 from age-related complications. Some propose that this phenomenon points to the existence of parallel universes. They theorize that, at certain moments, we might be perceiving or interacting with these alternate realities. In this view, discrepancies in our collective memories are moments where timelines have intersected, and those experiencing the Mandela effect are catching a glimpse of a universe where things played out differently. Another common example is the famous line from Star Wars, where Darth Vader reveals his parentage to Luke Skywalker. Many people distinctly remember him saying, "Luke, I am your father." But the actual line is, "No, I am your father." In the world of animation, there's the case of Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. A lot of people remember the evil queen saying, "Mirror, mirror," but the correct line is slightly different. These widespread memory errors suggest to some that something profound, possibly multidimensional, is at work. Of course, from a scientific perspective, it's tough to approach these theories without a healthy dose of skepticism. Neuroscience tells us that human memory is often unreliable and influenced by a multitude of factors, from emotional states to cultural influences. Near-death experiences. Are they dimensional portals? Then there are near-death experiences, which some people claim to have had during times of serious danger or critical illness. While a person's religion and beliefs can shape their individual experience, there are some common elements that tend to emerge, such as a sense of profound peace, a journey through a tunnel, and visions of spiritual beings. From a scientific standpoint, it's an intriguing phenomenon because it seems to occur when the brain is under immense stress or nearing the end of its activity. One explanation is the cerebral anoxia hypothesis, which suggests that these experiences are caused by a decrease in oxygen levels in the brain. In conditions of anoxia, the brain enters an altered state of consciousness, which can lead to unusual perceptions. This theory is supported by the fact that similar oxygen-depleted situations, like high-altitude hypoxia, can also trigger hallucinations. Throughout history, accounts of near-death experiences often describe a journey through a tunnel toward a bright light. Within the framework of multiverses, a more speculative idea is that these are moments when individuals perceive gaps in reality or travel through a dimensional portal. The idea is that they're briefly tapping into realities that are normally hidden from our senses, briefly touching the very fabric of space-time. This perspective could help explain some of the more perplexing aspects of these experiences, such as the feeling of being detached from the physical body. If we think of our body as being linked to our particular dimension of space and time, then the experience of leaving the body could be interpreted as a step toward another reality. Similarly, communicating with other beings could be seen as an interaction with entities from other dimensions. Furthermore, these experiences often have a profound and lasting impact on those who have them. Many people return with a new perspective on life and death, a renewed sense of connection with the universe. The experience of literally seeing beyond the material world could expand a person's consciousness, altering their understanding of life, existence, and the cosmos. Déjà vu. Then there are those fleeting moments of mystery, those brief instants that make us question our perception of reality. One such phenomenon is déjà vu, the strange feeling that you've already lived through the present moment. It's often dismissed as a trick of the mind, but one hypothesis suggests that déjà vu could actually be a glimpse through a portal to another dimension. Déjà vu is a French term that literally means already seen. It's a universal experience, reported by people from all sorts of cultures. It happens when a new situation feels strangely familiar, as if you're reliving something you've already experienced. Although it only lasts for a few seconds, the feeling of familiarity can be incredibly intense. From a scientific perspective, the explanation often centers around an anomaly in the memory process. It might arise from a glitch in the way the brain stores and retrieves memories, where a new experience is mistakenly classified as an old memory. But this doesn't always account for the emotional depth that often accompanies déjà vu. So let's venture into more speculative territory and consider a bolder hypothesis. What if every decision we make creates a new universe, each version of ourselves living out a slightly different life? If that's the case, then perhaps déjà vu is a feeling that another version of ourselves has already experienced something similar in a different universe. In other words, we ourselves would have experienced the same or a similar event in parallel universes, which explains why it feels so familiar. This dimensional crossing wouldn't be a physical journey, but rather a fleeting moment of mental connection, where the barriers between universes thin out for just a moment. Speculative dimensional portal locations. Across the globe, certain sites have captured the imagination of travelers and mystery seekers alike. One of the most enigmatic is the Bermuda Triangle, a large area in the North Atlantic bounded by Bermuda, Miami, and San Juan, Puerto Rico. Reports of strange incidents in this area date back to the time of Christopher Columbus, who mentioned seeing strange lights in the sea and a compass that spun erratically. But it was in the 20th century that the triangle really entered contemporary folklore, after a series of disappearances. One of the most famous cases is the disappearance of Flight 19 in 1945, a group of 5 United States Navy aircraft. These planes, which were on a training mission out of Florida, vanished without a trace, along with their 14 crew members. The last radio communication suggested that the pilots were disoriented, and couldn't recognize their location. Adding to the mystery, a rescue plane sent after them also disappeared. Over the years, many theories have been proposed to explain these events. Some scientific explanations suggest that methane bubbles rising from the ocean floor could create hydrographic anomalies that sink ships and planes. Other theories lean toward alien abductions. But among all these possibilities, the dimensional portal theory remains a popular one. According to this theory, the barriers between dimensions are thinner in the triangle, allowing ships and planes to unknowingly slip into another plane of existence. Proponents of this idea often point to the technology and strange malfunctions in navigation equipment. Many pilots and sailors have reported that their instruments spin uncontrollably or fail completely when crossing the triangle. These stories are used to suggest that there are forces or energies in the region that current science can't explain. In addition to disappearances and technical failures, there are also accounts of phenomena that seem to defy logical explanation, like oddly shaped clouds, waves that appear out of nowhere, and weather that behaves in unusual ways. These are phenomena that have led some to speculate that the triangle is governed by different laws of physics than the rest of the world. Of course, skeptics argue that many of the mysteries attributed to this region can be explained by human error or bad weather conditions. Others point out that the high volume of air and sea traffic in the area is simply the reason for the numerous accidents. Sedona, Arizona, is another place that seems to be imbued with a special kind of magic. The area is known for its stunning red rock formations, which are said to be home to energy centers called vortices. According to believers, these vortices have the power to do everything from heal ailments to facilitate contact with other dimensions. They're described as places where Earth's energies are concentrated and exceptionally accessible. Visitors often report feeling rejuvenated and mentally clear when they're near them. Others speak of experiences like spiritual visions or encounters with beings from other dimensions. Scientists and geologists tend to attribute these sensations to the area's overwhelming natural beauty, which can induce a meditative state or a sense of aesthetic appreciation. Deep in the English countryside stands Stonehenge, an enigmatic prehistoric monument that dates back 5,000 years. Over the centuries, it's been interpreted in many different ways. As a religious temple, an astronomical observatory, and a cemetery, the precise arrangement of the stones, aligned with astronomical phenomena, suggests that its builders had advanced knowledge of mathematics and astronomy. The theories about how these enormous stones were transported and erected only add to the mystery. Some of the stones, known as sarsens, weigh up to 25 tons and are believed to have been transported from as far as 20 miles away. Other smaller stones, known as blue stones, were likely brought from distances of up to 124 miles. Recent discoveries suggest that this place wasn't just a meeting point for prehistoric rituals. It was also a monument that evolved over millennia, reflecting the changing dynamics of the communities around it. For others, Stonehenge is considered a portal to other dimensions or an energy vortex. Every year during the summer and winter solstices, thousands of people flock there to witness the sight of the rising or setting sun aligning with the stones. High in the Andes Mountains of southern Peru, near Lake Titicaca, is the cryptic portal of Aramu-Muru. According to local legends, its origins are linked to the Incas and possibly even earlier civilizations. The story goes that Aramu-Muru, an Inca priest fleeing the Spanish conquistadors, arrived at the portal with a golden disc that served as a key. By placing the disc into the portal, a passage to another dimension opened, and the priest escaped, disappearing from this world forever. The interdimensional theory of UFOs. This theory proposes that sightings of unidentified flying objects are actually due to interactions with other dimensions that coexist with our own. It differs from the extraterrestrial hypothesis, which assumes that UFOs are visitors from other planets. The interdimensional theory has gained traction in some ufology circles because it provides an alternative explanation for the inexplicable behavior of UFOs. According to its proponents, UFOs are simply a modern manifestation of a phenomenon that's been happening throughout history. In the past, these sightings were attributed to mythological or supernatural creatures. Now, they're attributed to extraterrestrial beings. Meade Lane argued that UFOs are etheric and that they materialize and dematerialize as they pass between different levels of matter. Lane was one of the first to suggest that the occupants of UFOs are actually humans from another dimension. John Keel took this idea a step further, suggesting that UFOs and their occupants aren't necessarily extraterrestrial visitors from other planets, but rather beings from other dimensions. They could be beings with the ability to move between their dimension and ours. According to Keel, these interdimensional or ultra-terrestrial beings have the ability to manipulate human perception. Keel also suggested that these aliens have been manipulating humanity for various reasons, possibly to study us or to influence our development. He also noted that many UFO encounters involve paranormal phenomena, such as sightings of strange creatures and psychic experiences, suggesting that they're part of a complex phenomenon with multiple layers. Other authors, like Alan Hynek and Jacques Vallée, have considered the possibility of interconnected universes. Initially, Vallée supported the idea that UFOs were visits from extraterrestrial beings, but he later concluded that the extraterrestrial hypothesis was too limited and didn't explain all the evidence. Thus, Vallée proposed that UFOs are entities from other dimensions, but not necessarily intelligent extraterrestrial beings from other planets. They could be beings capable of manipulating our perceptions and appearing in various forms, existing outside of space and time. This would explain the ever-changing and sometimes incomprehensible nature of these phenomena, as well as their persistence throughout history. The UFO phenomenon. Most UFO sightings are eventually classified as known objects or atmospheric phenomena. However, a small percentage remains unexplained. While the scientific community has traditionally been skeptical of considering UFOs as a legitimate topic of study, that view has been slowly changing, spurred on by various events. The most famous UFO case is the Roswell incident in 1947, which some researchers believe was the crash of an alien spacecraft. Nuclear physicist Stanton Terry Friedman was one of the first to champion the hypothesis that it was a genuine extraterrestrial crash. More recently, the so-called Pentagon UFOs, video recordings captured by U.S. Navy fighter jets, have captured the public's attention. These videos have been known since 2017, although the Pentagon didn't officially confirm them until 2020. The first video, called FLIR 1, recorded in 2004, shows an elongated object moving quickly over the ocean. It was captured by a U.S. Navy F/A-18 Super Hornet fighter off the coast of San Diego. The pilots reported that the object had no wings, rotors, or any visible source of propulsion. The second video, called Gimbal from 2015, was recorded by a fighter of the same model using an infrared camera. The pilots can be heard expressing their astonishment at the object's behavior. A disc-shaped structure is observed moving horizontally before stopping and rotating on its axis. The third video, called Go Fast, also recorded in 2015, shows a smaller object moving at high speed. The video highlights both its speed and the difficulty in tracking it. It appears to move without any visible propulsion and at speeds that defy the capabilities of known aircraft. There have been various speculations trying to explain what these unidentified flying objects are. Some have proposed that they are drones from other countries attempting to observe American aircraft capabilities. Others have argued that no country currently has the potential to produce aircraft with such extraordinary capabilities. No firm conclusion has been reached as to what they are, but it has been confirmed that they are physical objects. On another front, in 2023, David Grush, a United States Air Force officer and former intelligence officer, stepped forward and made some shocking and unprecedented claims at a U.S. congressional hearing. He asserted that the U.S. government has secret programs dedicated to the recovery and reverse engineering of non-human spacecraft, emphasizing that they possess multiple craft of non-human origin and even the bodies of alien pilots. He claimed to have seen documents about a craft recovered in Italy in 1933, which was then transferred to the United States in 1944 or 1945 with support from the Vatican. In a later interview, Grush suggested that UFOs originate from other dimensions and have malevolent intentions. However, both NASA and the U.S. Department of Defense have denied these claims, stating that there is no evidence of extraterrestrial life or such a program. Furthermore, the general response from ufology experts has been skeptical, pointing out the lack of concrete evidence.
Glory to the
Another
Maker
exceptional case is that
in
of Ryan
this
Graves,
sacred place.
a mechanical and aerospace engineer with a decade of experience flying for the United States Navy. According to Graves, unidentified objects began to be seen in late 2013 and early 2014, after an upgrade to the radar system of their planes. Graves and his squadron saw them every day, every time they went flying. Initially, they thought they were radar errors until they saw them visually. The radars displayed kinematic data of the objects, such as location and speed, but without determining their shape. They didn't follow controlled trajectories and frequently exhibited unusual movements. Graves mentioned that they were able to remain stationary even in winds of up to 140 miles per hour, which he found difficult to explain. According to the pilot, one of the objects was in the shape of a dark cube inside a translucent sphere, a description consistent with previous accounts. Whatever their nature, as the case of Ryan Graves shows, these are unusual objects. To better understand their behavior, let's look at some of the capabilities they seem to possess. Some appear and disappear instantly, and move at supersonic speeds without creating sonic booms. They make abrupt changes in direction that would be impossible for current aircraft and that human beings couldn't physically withstand. One possible explanation is that they have the ability to jump between dimensions or manipulate spacetime, controlling their own inertia and gravity in ways that we don't yet understand. Other reports suggest that UFOs can become invisible or alter their appearance. Sometimes, the presence of a UFO causes malfunctions in electronic equipment, like vehicle blackouts, radio interference, or compass anomalies. They could be equipped with some type of technology that allows them to influence or alter the energy fields around them, using undiscovered forms of energy or even the ability to engineer the fundamental properties of matter and energy. Other theories suggest that UFOs are actually human visitors from the future. Some proponents of this idea suggest that visitors from the future are watching us or even intervening at crucial moments in history. Since the 1940s, there have been UFO sightings near military installations, particularly those possessing nuclear weapons. In 1980, near Bentwaters Air Base in the United Kingdom, several military personnel reported seeing strange lights and a metallic object in Rendlesham Forest. The base housed nuclear weapons at the time, although this information wasn't public knowledge. If UFOs are of extraterrestrial origin, their crews might be interested in human nuclear technology. Another possibility is that they're trying to ensure that we don't use these weapons in a destructive manner. If they're interdimensional visitors, perhaps they have the ability to observe us without directly intervening in our spacetime in a consistent way. But of course, all of these theories are highly speculative. The alien species of the multiverse, if we accept the idea that there's an endless number of universes out there, then we're faced with a mind-blowing possibility. Among all those universes, there could be countless places where smart civilizations have popped up. Each universe, with its own set of rules for physics, chemistry, and biology, would be home to some seriously diverse life forms, way different from anything we've ever seen on Earth. Some of these civilizations might be way ahead of us in terms of technology, controlling energy, and using technologies that would seem like magic to us. Others might just be getting started, beginning to understand the world around them. In a universe where matter is packed super tight, matter would be way denser than in our universe, leading to the creation of massive planets and stars. This would cause crazy high gravity on the planets, so any beings living there would need to be small and tough to move around easily. In a universe that's evolving super fast, mutations and evolution would happen way quicker than they do here. That could lead to the development of life forms with all sorts of weird body structures like extra limbs. If technology and tools are key to survival, having extra arms would make it a whole lot easier to do multiple things at once and build complicated machines. In a universe where gravity is constantly changing, aliens would need to have bodies that are flexible and can adapt. They might be gelatinous, see-through beings that can change their shape, stretching and shrinking depending on the gravity. Their faces could have big, multifaceted eyes that can see across different light spectrums. They might not have much of a nose, and their mouths could expand and contract. Their skin could have a pearly glow, with colors that shift based on what's around them. In a universe with exotic chemistry, the rules of chemistry would be different from ours. The aliens there might have a biology based on silicon, with cell structures that can handle super high temperatures. They could have crystalline bodies that look like quartz crystals and limbs made of hard segments that are jointed. Their eyes might be made of lots of tiny crystalline lenses, and they might not have a visible mouth, communicating instead through bioluminescence or vibrations. They could have 4 limbs that can split into multiple segments, allowing them to manipulate objects with super precision. In a universe with extra dimensions, there would be more than just the 4 dimensions we know about, all squeezed together and messing with the fundamental physics. Smart beings there might exist in more than 3 spatial dimensions, interacting with their surroundings and each other in ways we can't even imagine. They might be able to pass right through solid objects as we see them in our 3-dimensional world. They could communicate telepathically, sending thoughts instantly across multiple dimensions. Their bodies could be fluid, constantly morphing into geometric shapes that stick out into different dimensions. Faces might pop up and disappear on different parts of their bodies, with eyes multiplying and moving around. Limbs could extend and retract into different dimensions, letting them interact with their environment in ways that are impossible for 3-dimensional beings. Another possibility is a universe dominated by dark energy, a mysterious force that's making the universe expand faster and faster. The beings there might be made mostly of energy, able to change shape and move around without needing physical bodies. They could communicate by changing the intensity and frequency of their energy, kind of like using light to send Morse code. Their bodies might be made of pure energy, with vague, humanoid outlines but no clear details. They could have a constant energy glow, with colors shifting between dark blue and black, creating a dark aura effect. Their facial features might be barely there, with eyes that look like black holes and mouths that send out pulses of energy. Their arms and legs could stretch and deform, with the ability to blast out bursts of energy. Even weirder is the idea of intelligent beings from a universe with nonlinear time, where time doesn't flow at a constant rate in one direction like it does for us. In that kind of universe, time could move backward and forward, stop, speed up, or split off in multiple directions. These aliens or ultra-terrestrials would experience time in a non-linear way, seeing the past, present, and future all at the same time. That would let them predict events and act with incredible precision. They could have a shared memory, storing information in a temporal continuum that all members of their species can access. They might be entities with bodies made of concentric rings, with each ring representing a different moment in time. Their bodies could show scenes from the past and future, like their skin is a holographic screen. Their faces could have multiple eyes arranged in circles, letting them see in all directions and times. Their limbs could have double joints, allowing them to move fluidly and quickly in any temporal direction. Obviously, these are just guesses about alien beings that might live in the multiverse, in universes that are totally different from ours. Even though it sounds like something out of science fiction, the idea that there could be life forms out there that are completely different from anything we know is pretty fascinating. This makes us think about whether humans will ever be able to simulate realities like this, kind of like what we already do in video games. Are we living in a simulation? Is our world real? The universe is about 8 billion years old, which makes our civilization, at just 6,000 to 8,000 years old, seem tiny in comparison. This huge age difference really puts the briefness of human history and its achievements into perspective. But technology is advancing so quickly, it makes you wonder about some pretty unsettling questions. Imagine we're playing a video game with super realistic graphics and crazy advanced artificial intelligence. The game simulates a city with hundreds of thousands of virtual characters that we can interact with. We know that it's all just a simulation that we're controlling from a game console. But the characters in the game truly believe they're real people living in a real city. They're programmed to feel and experience their world as if it's authentic. They have memories, dreams, and a sense of time and space that makes them think their existence is real. If these game characters believe they're conscious and have real experiences, is their view of reality any less valid than ours? What even defines reality, anyway? This scenario also makes us think about our own existence. If we ever found out that we were living in a simulation created by some higher intelligence, how would that change the way we see the world? A civilization could have developed the technology to create simulations of thousands of universes, and it's possible that our universe is one of them. Visiting the real world of that creative civilization would be like traveling to another unknown dimension. Even though this theory seems unlikely, there are scientists and other thinkers who take it seriously. Throughout history, we've seen theories that were once considered unthinkable turn out to be true. Aristarchus of Samos suggested about 2,300 years ago that the Earth and the planets revolve around the Sun. This idea was widely rejected until Nicholas Copernicus brought it back in the 16th century. Galileo Galilei and Johannes Kepler provided more evidence, and it was finally accepted. In the 19th century, Ignaz Semmelweis and Louis Pasteur suggested that microorganisms were responsible for infectious diseases. This idea was initially laughed at, but it was later proven true and became the foundation of modern microbiology. So, let's dive deeper into the strange idea of simulation, which is being considered by some of the greatest minds of our time. Simulated brains. Philosopher Nick Bostrom's simulation argument lays out three possibilities. First, almost all civilizations die out before they develop the advanced technologies needed to create realistic simulations. Second, advanced civilizations might choose not to create detailed simulations for ethical or other reasons. The third, and most thought-provoking possibility is that we're currently living in a computer simulation. This idea also suggests that, with the right technology, we would definitely try to simulate our own existence, the lives of our ancestors or other worlds. We're already doing something similar with video games and their characters. Bostrom assumes that future generations will have access to huge amounts of computing power, allowing them to run tons of simulations. If these simulations are detailed and the substrate-independent theory is correct, then the simulated minds could have consciousness. According to the substrate-independent theory, consciousness can develop in various substrates, not just biological ones. If that's true, then humans would create virtual worlds where most of the minds aren't from the original race but are virtual minds. We don't have the hardware and software yet to create conscious minds on computers, but technological advances might overcome those limitations. Today, there are millions of players interacting at the same time in increasingly complex virtual worlds. If technology keeps advancing at this rate, we'll be able to simulate not just parts of the physical world, but also all of human experiences. If an advanced civilization creates simulations that then create their own simulations, the simulated realities multiply like crazy. The original civilization would probably be a Type 1 or 2 civilization on the Kardashev scale. Since there would only be one base reality and a potentially infinite number of simulations, the chance of us being in the base reality is super small. This is what great minds like Elon Musk have suggested. It's highly unlikely that our world is real, and therefore it's highly probable that it's a simulation. This conclusion is based on the assumption that technology will keep improving and that advanced civilizations will create lots of reality simulations. Doors to other simulated universes. According to theoretical physicist Max Tegmark, if our universe is a simulation, then there's a chance we could access other simulated universes through dimensional doors. These wouldn't be physical doors, but rather glitches or flaws in the code of our reality, which would let us access another layer of the simulation. To understand it better, think about a video game. In these digital worlds, characters use portals to travel instantly from one place to another. A dimensional door would be like a portal in a video game, but on a much larger scale. This idea brings up a lot of questions. How would we know if we found a door like this? Would we recognize the glitch, or would it be hidden in the anomalies we sometimes see in the cosmos? The simulation gaps. The study of quantum physics has completely changed how we understand the universe. Through the uncertainty principle developed by Werner Heisenberg, it introduces probability and chance into the mechanics of subatomic particles. According to this principle, it's impossible to know both the exact position and velocity of a particle at the same time. This idea of indeterminism went against Einstein's view of a universe governed by precise and determined physical laws, where God does not play dice. Another fascinating aspect of quantum mechanics is quantum entanglement, a phenomenon that Albert Einstein once called spooky action at a distance. When two particles become entangled, the state of one particle can instantly affect the state of the other, no matter how far apart they are. These ideas make the simulated universe theory seem more plausible. We could see probability in quantum mechanics as calculations happening within a simulated system. Connections between data points, in this case particles, would be instant and everywhere, overcoming the limitations of traditional space and time. Also, quantum mechanics introduces the idea of the observer, suggesting that particles don't have a defined state until they're observed. This principle suggests that we could be in a simulation where objects only take concrete form when they're needed. It's similar to video games, where only parts of the virtual world are generated as the player gets closer. If our reality works this way, it would explain why measurements affect the results of quantum experiments. The system only calculates results when it needs to. Signs of the simulation. One way to figure out if we're living in a simulation is to look for anomalies in the laws of physics. These irregularities could be signs of processing errors in the supposed simulation. For example, unexplained changes in the fundamental constants of physics would suggest that algorithms are governing our universe. Obvious signs would be related to computational performance. Unexplained slowdowns in natural phenomena could mean that the simulation is overloaded. We might also find mathematical patterns in nature that look like computer code. In any case, if we look at the physical laws of our universe, we can at least start to wonder. The fundamental physical constants seem to be perfectly calibrated to allow the formation of atoms, molecules, stars, planets, and ultimately, life. Small changes in any of these constants could result in a completely uninhabitable universe. If the speed of light were faster, the relationship between mass and energy would change, which could affect the stability of matter. Particles could easily break down, making it hard to form stable structures. If the gravitational constant were slightly stronger, stars would burn faster, using up their fuel before life had a chance to evolve. If the charge on the electron changed, atomic structures wouldn't form properly, preventing the creation of matter as we know it. Similarly, in video game development, programmers adjust parameters to create a playable and balanced environment. If the parameters were set incorrectly, the game would be unplayable. But there are other strange phenomena in reality that seem to indicate errors or patterns, like the coincidences between different events or historical figures. In 1898, author Morgan Robertson wrote a novel called Futility, which told the story of an ocean liner called the Titan. Like the Titanic, the ship in the novel also sank in April after hitting an iceberg in the North Atlantic. The coincidences between Presidents Lincoln and Kennedy have also been astonishing. Both were elected to Congress in years ending in 46 and as president in years ending in 60. Both were assassinated on a Friday, and both were succeeded by men named Johnson. In software development, especially in complex simulations, errors or bugs sometimes happen that cause unexpected behavior. Improbable coincidences could be seen as errors in the programming of our simulation. On the other hand, it's possible that the creators of the simulation intentionally inserted these synchronies to interact with the inhabitants. What if we could open a portal to another dimension? Or if humanity discovers one? Let's imagine that scientists around the world have been working on a secret and revolutionary project, creating a portal to another dimension. After years of research and many failed attempts, today is the day. When the chief scientist gives the signal, a high-pitched hum fills the air, the lights flicker, and suddenly a bright glow appears in the center of the room. It forms a vortex that opens towards the unknown. A portal to another dimension has been opened. What if we could open a portal to another dimension? First, we wouldn't know for sure if that dimension is the base reality from which our universe is simulated, or just another universe in the multiverse. But there would be direct and immediate impacts. The possibility of traveling through space and time would change how we understand the universe. We could encounter completely different realities, worlds with different physical laws, and maybe even new forms of life. Opening a portal to another dimension wouldn't just be a scientific achievement. It would be a life-changing event for all humans. The first to pass through the portal would be astronauts, scientists, or specially trained explorers. Equipped with advanced technology to study the new environment, these pioneers would venture into the unknown, facing unimaginable dangers and wonders. A new era of colonization would begin, with humans establishing settlements in this new dimension. But opening a dimensional portal would also come with risks. There would be security concerns since we wouldn't know what kind of forces could exist in that dimension, or if there would be hostile life forms. The possibility of something dangerous crossing the portal into our dimension would also be a real concern. Policymakers would have to establish strict protocols to control and monitor any interaction between the dimensions. Also, there would be ethical and philosophical dilemmas. Would we have the right to exploit the resources of another world? What would happen if we found intelligent life? Another aspect to consider is the cultural and social impact. Religions, philosophies, and belief systems would have to adapt to the new reality. The existence of other dimensions would change our understanding of fundamental concepts like life, death, and the meaning of existence. Economically, the portal would represent huge opportunities, but also challenges. The race to exploit the resources of another dimension would be like a gold rush, driving technological advances in areas like transportation and engineering. Geopolitically, the portal would be both a point of unity and division between nations. It could foster unprecedented international cooperation, uniting humanity over the prospect of exploring new worlds together. On the other hand, control of the portal could become a source of tension, with world powers competing to dominate this new frontier. What would happen if we found ourselves in another universe? With curiosity and maybe a little fear, we decide to cross the dimensional portal that science has developed or discovered. In doing so, we find something unexpected. Another version of ourselves. What would happen then? What would that meeting be like? Discovering yourself in another universe would be a disorienting but revealing experience. It would provide extraordinary insight into our own choices and regrets, about the moments when we ask ourselves, what would have happened if? Maybe that other self took risks, or maybe they were cautious. They might have pursued a completely different career, started a family, or lived in a different cultural environment. This experience would be like looking through a mirror that reflects the multiple possibilities of existence. There would be feelings of envy or relief depending on what the life of the other self is like. If that version seems happier or more fulfilled, we might feel a longing for what could have been. If that other self faces difficulties that we've avoided, we might feel gratitude for the choices we've made in our own world. This encounter would also raise questions about identity. Are we really the result of our decisions, or is everything in our life already decided? To what extent can different environments and experiences change who we are? Noticing how different decisions create other versions of oneself would confirm that we design our destiny, that every small decision has significant repercussions on our lives. What if our dreams are reality in a parallel universe? In the stillness of the night, our dreams take center stage. According to science, they're caused by the random activation of the brain during REM sleep. They help consolidate recent information and experiences. Other theories suggest that dreams serve an adaptive purpose, like practicing survival skills. But what if the dreams we have every night aren't just creations of our minds? What if every dream was a window to a parallel universe, where versions of ourselves live different lives? If this strange idea were true, dreams would be real experiences in parallel universes. They would represent every decision we don't make in our reality, played out in other universes of the multiverse. In dreams, we would visit realities where the other self has led a completely different life, experiencing fragments of alternative lives. This idea could also explain the emotional intensity and vivid realism of some dreams. Why do some dreams leave us with a feeling of loss or happiness that lasts long after waking up? What if when we die, we wake up in a parallel universe? One of the oldest and most persistent questions has been, what happens after death? Cultures around the world have their own vision of what awaits us at the end of our earthly life. But what if the reality we know is just a prelude, a dream from which we wake up when we die? What if, when we close our eyes for the last time in this world, we open them in another universe? Let's imagine that life is just a phase, an experience in a continuum of existence. When we die, we transition to a new reality, a parallel universe where we continue our journey. We could maintain the awareness we've lived with, or move on with a new, renewed awareness and purpose. If we consider life as a dream from which we wake up when we die, each moment lived here takes on a new meaning. Our joys and sorrows would be part of a lesson designed to prepare us for what awaits us. Death wouldn't be an end to be feared, but rather a transition. From a spiritual point of view, this idea would be a huge comfort. The pain of losing loved ones would be lessened by the belief that they're waking up somewhere else, free from suffering. This transition could also be seen as an awakening from the point of view of soul or consciousness development. What we experience now would be a kind of simulation to teach us certain spiritual lessons. Upon dying and waking up, we would find ourselves with an understanding of these lessons. It's similar to when we wake up from a dream and better understand our fears and desires. As we close this chapter of our exploration, we're faced with the vastness of the universe and the countless possibilities of the multiverse. But what if our own existence was just a shadow on a wall, a projection of something more complex and elaborate? This reflection leads us to go beyond what we can see, questioning the very structure of our reality.